And we are back. It is the week 17, really what may be the final week of like legitimate slates. And even then, we're tiptoeing around some should they, shouldn't they play situations, but I'll call it the final week of legitimate slates of DFS of the 2020 NFL season, answering some start sit questions. If you got DFS questions, throw them in the chat. And of course, we will break down position by position the week 17 main slate. So, Kerrane, how's it going? We were off last week. Good holiday season.
It was good. Yeah, I had a good time. How about you?
It was all right. I worked every day, so.
I did not work on Christmas, which was nice. I did work a double game on Christmas
you had a
Eve.
big shift Christmas Eve. I remember that. So.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't play DFS last week, and actually, I guess I did. I did a couple single entry things, but I basically normied them. I didn't make the lineups in the bathroom, but it was close.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I didn't put too much time and effort last week into it. I think I'm gonna go back to the well. I gotta say, I didn't miss just kind of sweating. Like, it was actually just kind of fun, just sweating some best ball stuff and some season long stuff. But with the last legitimate slate, I feel like I have to fire.
Oh yeah, I played last week. I don't know if I played. I wasn't around for 1 p.m. lock on Christmas Eve because I didn't work 1 p.m. So I didn't play that slate, but I played like the afternoon, the evening, and the showdowns or whatever. I don't have a problem. You have a problem. It's fine.
You kept it light. You just played every single slate available.
Yeah. Just a little bit here, a little bit there, and by here and there, I mean everything, every contest. I don't think I played on. No, I definitely played on FanDuel too. So,
all right. So I assume everyone watching knows the drill at this point. This is, I think, probably the last one of these that we're gonna do. If your fantasy championship game is in week 18, like, fix your league. I don't know what to tell you. I don't think we'll be back. So this will probably be it. I'm hoping that we're going to get lots of questions about people, in their fantasy championships that are going to take down their fantasy championships. Let's get some W's this week. We're going to talk about DFS. We're going to talk about your start sit questions. We'll do DFS and start sit kind of in chunks. We've kind of mixed up the order. What do you feel like doing, Kyle? You want to answer questions? Or you want to talk DFS first?
We'll talk DFS first. I don't see a ton of questions, so we'll let them build. We'll let them mount.
Okay.
We'll grow, and then we'll harvest them in 15 minutes.
Well, yeah, we'll harvest in 15 minutes. So we'll do in 15 minutes. We'll talk questions for about 15 minutes. Go back to DFS, close out the show with more questions. If there's not that many questions, maybe we'll just kind of keep the show running until we get through all of them. If there's way too many, we'll have to cut it off at some point. But we usually go a little over the allotted time. But all right, let's talk DFS, Kyle. You mentioned that there's kind of a little bit of like motivation stuff. The only stuff that I've heard is with Jacksonville, and the Texans. The thinking there, they're not going to have too much trouble beating the Texans. They don't really need to, because it all just comes down to what happens between them and the Titans next week. So, worst case scenario would be them losing anyone in this game, which is fairly meaningless. So there's some risk that they pull the starters, but I also think there's risk but just the potential that they just run the ball a lot, which makes Travis Etienne kind of interesting. And I feel like people are sort of torn if he's going to be like this chalky, easy fade, or if he's like sort of a sneaky, hey, maybe there is some value in this game. I don't know which he is. Where are you at on that game?
Yeah, I wrote him up right now. I just dropped the DFS article as one of the chalky pieces. I do think, it's the spot of all spots, right? He's seen like nearly every 88% of their running back carries, all of the red zone work ever since he came back from he didn't even miss a game, but ever since he got took a seat for most of the game in week 12, I want to say, he's come back and it's obviously just a non-issue. He has every single rushing attempt, all the red zone carries. It's just what he does. And he plays a team that gives up the most rushing attempts, the most rushing yards, the most rushing touchdowns. They're terrible by efficiency metrics too. And they're favorites. I do think I'm surprised they're only, 4-point favorites, which might lend some credence to the idea that we don't see at least full 4 quarters. Though obviously if they get up late by the end of the game, they got it late by scoring a bunch of points. So I think he will be popular. I still don't know if that makes him entirely great fade, though. I do it is the ultimate synopsis of DFS. anytime, there's risk for him, right? There is a clear risk that he was dealing with a foot thing earlier this week or earlier this season, 3 weeks ago or whatever. They should be able to pretty much just pummel the Texans. Even their backups are about as good as the Texans. So they get to the third quarter.
The Texans have been somewhat frisky over the last few weeks, and the Jaguars' pass defense is absolutely atrocious. So I don't think it's like I don't think the backups are better than the Texans. I think the Texans have graduated to better than the Jaguars' backup status. They hung with the Chiefs. They hung with the Cowboys.
They did. You're right. There's no and who they beat someone too. I mean, obviously they beat a pretty dreadful Titans Malik Willis led team, but they beat him. Like it's a win is a win.
You know who they beat? The Jaguars. They beat the Jaguars.
No. That was their first win of the year, right?
Yeah, they beat them 13-6.
I mean, if that's the case, I do think if this game is close, it will be a full 4 quarters of starters because Doug Peterson did say that, and coaches can lie or whatever, but he did say that no game is meaningless. They're playing their starters, and this game does. I think if they lose week 18, winning this game gives them like an extra 8% wild card probability. So it's not meaningless. It is low value, but not meaningless. So I think the risk of Etienne or any of these guys not playing late in the game is minimal. It's not zero. But it is like the perfect synopsis of DFS. I'm like, Travis Etienne, absolute jam play. If people are afraid of playing him, I'm going to play him in every lineup. And then, ownership updates by Saturday, 33%. I'm like, oh my God, what a great fade. This guy but that's the game, right? The game is half about what we can project these players to do. And the other half is what we can project the field to do and how we can marry those two things. I do like Etienne a lot this week. He's also just so underpriced for like being such a workhorse back. Even doesn't get a lot of receiving value against this team. I don't really care. So yeah.
So all right, let's talk Lions and Bears, which I think is one of the other kind of key games for different reasons. I mean,
just because it's a nervous, good freaking game.
Yeah, we're nervous about the other game. We're excited about this game. I was mentioning on the preview pod that we did, Rotoworld Football Show, that I'm not like as excited about this game from like, I think both teams could go run heavy and stuff, but the defenses are so bad that it easily could be kind of like the Detroit-Seattle game where both teams were run heavy, run first. And it just didn't matter because they were effective at every single thing they did. And kind of everybody was just scoring points at will. Justin Fields here seems like a great play. Jared Goff looks like he's going to be really chalky. Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be massive, massive chalk. I think in the like single entry, smaller field stuff, he's going to be one of the highest owned guys all season at wide receiver.
Yeah, he flipped to it was the Vikings game. I think it was the Viking game where sites projected him for like 25, 30%, right? One of the more popular projections of the entire season. And he flips in high stakes at like 50%, like legit. He got over 50.
It's going to happen again, I think. I named the walkthrough Amon-Ra St. Brown week. I mean, it's a beautiful spot for Amon-Ra St. Brown. I was pointing out that like he has a 29% targets per route run. He's targeted 29% of his routes, which is an extremely high rate. Only Tyreek Hill is higher in the entire league. But he has a shallow ADOT. So if like things aren't going well for the Lions, he is a bit fragile. But if they're like rolling, moving the chains, he's like guaranteed to be a part of that success. And I think he actually has a very high ceiling in those types of game scripts. And this does shape up as one of those game scripts. So it's a pretty scary fade in DFS because he's kind of high floor in the sense he's like a target earner, but we're also looking at a really high team total and he's the engine of the passing attack. So you can't really say he doesn't have a high ceiling either.
Yeah, he'd be a terrifying fade. And I'll definitely have some limes without him because I'm going to have we talked about this. Both these teams want to run the football, right? I think naturally especially we've seen the Lions a bit more ebb and flow with their opponent. Like if they get down, like they will at least make an effort to make it a high scoring affair. And this looks like it. I mean, Vegas says it easily should be. It's a 52 total. And I think the next highest is 48 or 49 or something like that. It's like clearly the game of the week. Both defenses are dreadful, but I think there's absolutely a possibility that that both teams are successful enough running the football that they just get to do that a lot. So the game slows down a bit, and the points and the points and the plays don't go to the players that you are stacking. So you're not stacking a Jamal Williams Goff type of lineup, right, or a Montgomery Field. So I will have some lineups that are either Jamal or David Montgomery. Also, last week, Justin Fields got 2 designed carries. It was like his lowest, is almost his lowest of the season. It was like easily his lowest. If you throw out like he was hurt for the Green Bay game, they clearly were hiding him. It was his lowest since they actually made an effort to let him run the football, which I like is probably a blip on the radar, but I was a little thrown by that. Like they truly just like did not try and give him carries. He still scrambled a bit, and he got like 11 rushing yards. So
yeah, that's not ideal though. And I would say one thing about this game that's tough is like you'd rather play it from the field side, I think, especially because like, okay, so the theory of the game is like the most likely way this game plays out is that Fields smashes because he's got such great rushing ability, great matchup. They're going to run the ball a ton. He'll be a part of that. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown absolutely crushes. But like, you don't want Goff, like, stacking St. Brown with Goff kind of ruins the field side of it. And then on the field side, you can stack him, but it's not fun. It's just, and I don't really want to do Montgomery with Fields. So I guess like, is the chalk stack going to be, because I don't see any ownership on Komet. So what is the chalk stack? Is Fields going to be chalky? Is he going to be kind of like held down by the fact that people are playing this through Amon-Ra St. Brown?
No, Fields will be popular. I have him as like the third most, just looking at different ownerships, like second or third most. And I have Komet as pretty popular, not as popular. Like I have him top 5 in terms of ownership. And I think that might even be underselling it because I think this game, like the field has gotten very good at picking out the best spots of the week. Like I said, with the Vikings-Lions game, right? We know how good Lions games are for fantasy points. We know how easily Fields can hit the 100-yard bonus on the ground. And his obvious stacking option, I'd argue options, depending on how the receivers go, are very cheap. So I think Fields and Komet, it's either Fields and Komet or just Fields naked. I haven't looked at how like the rate at which the field in terms of like the milli stacks someone like Fields. I would guess in higher stakes, Fields, Komet, St. Brown is the most popular stack of the week. Maybe it goes Goff, who will also be popular, Goff, St. Brown, and Komet. But I think flip the quarterbacks, that version of it is by far the most popular. One interesting thing is I have no clue what's going on with the Chicago receivers. Obviously, I don't know. Like, I truly don't know. We don't have Darnell Mooney, obviously, but Chase Claypool, DNP on Wednesday, limited yesterday. Dante Pettis goes the other way, limited, and then DNP. Equanimous St. Brown still working his way back from a concussion. No clue. But, like, there are pieces. If we don't get any of those 3, which I have no clue, I read on this. Only receiver I can name on this team be like Velus Jones and Nasimba Webster, I think his name is. So
you broke up a little bit. Did you mention Byron Pringle?
Yeah, Byron Pringle would be the one healthy guy, maybe.
Yeah, he's had route rates of 94% and 91% over the last 2 weeks. But he's not, I don't think he's really a part of like what they're trying to do.
Of course he's not. He's Byron Pringle.
Targets. Yeah. Well, they did bring him in free agency. He is not. Let's see. He's had 1 first read target total over the last 2 weeks.
The thing is, though, they've had star receivers to throw to instead of him, such as Dante Pettis, Equanimous St. Brown.
Yeah. There's a limit to the stacking thing, right? If Chase Claypool goes, are you interested in him?
I think so. I have no clue at what capacity he'll be playing at, but the thing is, like,
what's his salary?
It can't be much. I'll pull it up real quick. But like 30% of Chase Claypool has to be still significantly better at earning targets than 100% of Byron Pringle, Velus Jones, and Nasimba Webster. Let me see. Claypool is, I don't know. Hold on. I don't have. I'll pull it up in a second.
All right. Well, let's talk as you pull that up. Let's move to the next game, which, so we don't have the Bills and the Bengals, which would actually be like a very fun main slate game. But instead, we have the Packers and the Vikings, which is in the late window of the main slate, and that's kind of the other. I actually think that game is pretty easy to imagine becoming pretty fun. The Packers were pass first last week against a Dolphins team that makes a ton of sense to be pass first against. They have a good run defense and a pretty weak pass defense. The Vikings have a very weak pass defense as well. And so it was nice to see that the Packers are actually going to be a little bit aggressive. Obviously, we don't have clarity on whether Christian Watson is going to be able to play. He's dealing with a hip injury. That, I think, would probably affect things a little bit. We also have Aaron Jones dealing with a knee injury. And that cost him a lot of playing time last week. So there's some uncertainty here for sure. But I don't know. I mean, I think there's going to be points in this game, right? So where are your thoughts on this game and if it's going to be nearly as popular as the Chicago game?
Yeah, I have this as the second most popular game by a pretty considerable margin, mostly via Aaron Rodgers. They are favored. They're at home. And like you said, although they have never chosen to really run opt or for pass first, finally saw it last week in a spot that made sense. And this is a spot that makes sense. Like, there is some logic to it, but they have also had other pass first opportunities in which they have not taken them, even as the team was getting good, like even as Watson was breaking out, which like really has unlocked this offense. Rodgers like he wasn't even doing the thing where he's high touchdown efficiency, but doesn't top 300 yards much type of thing, low volume. Wasn't even doing that to start the year. Now we seem to finally be getting that, but then it doesn't look like Watson's going to play. He's back-to-back DNPs after leaving pretty quickly last week and getting ruled out pretty quickly. So if he doesn't play, we lose so much of the aspect that speeds this game up that I wouldn't be awfully interested. And I still don't think Rodgers 100-yard game this year. Like, even I don't think he got there. Did he get there last week? If it was, it would have been his first. So I think this one to me almost makes more sense as a fade, because specifically the Packers have been so ardent up until last week about being a run first team, and they are maybe losing the one aspect of their game that allows the matchup to speed up, allows a drive to end 60 yards touchdown instantly. Like, if Rodgers has been not a good fantasy option all year and he's going to be popular, like that's the fate.
I don't know if he'll be that popular though, because if you don't have Christian Watson, and the other thing is Justin Jefferson's hard to fit. He's sort of the obvious bring back. And Dalvin Cook doesn't look like he'll be super popular. And I think he's another bring back option.
I like Dalvin Cook in this game. I think Jefferson will probably be relatively popular. He's the best wide receiver. He's definitely the best wide receiver on the slate, because we have, although I do think like Teddy Bridgewater I think that game's on the main slate. Either way, like, it's just so clear that Justin Jefferson is, if not the best receiver in the NFL, at least one of the two most productive. And Tyreek Hill's quarterback, it is on the main slate. Tyreek Hill's quarterback situation, worse. Yeah. I think we talked about this on the Thursday show. Teddy Bridgewater can scoot the ship along. Tua is better. Tua is like clearly better. So
yeah, me and you think Tua is better. Denny
was
making the case he wasn't.
I think he's getting so much help from his team, but the fact that he is like first in yards per attempt, second in EPA per play, like
probably somewhat meaningful.
Somewhat meaningful. He's not the second best quarterback in the NFL, but he's not Teddy Bridgewater. So
no, he's not Teddy Bridgewater.
I think like the clear pay up option and the only one on this slate outside of like Amon-Ra, who's 78, is not nearly as much as Jefferson. It's Jefferson. So, and I think this game ends up being popular. That's why I'm afraid. I want to fade it.
I don't think it'll be that popular. If
it is not popular, I'd love to play it, because it's like the second highest total. And we're finally getting some life from the Packers. And obviously the Vikings, you've talked about this, like they're a relatively balanced team, but when they get pushed, they push back. So
I just can't imagine, like, think about, okay, this is like maybe the last week of DFS you're playing, and you're riding in with Aaron Rodgers to Allen Lazard stacks. Like, I just don't think people are going to be excited about that. It's not crazy if it's low owned, but eating Allen Lazard and Aaron Rodgers chalk as your last move, it just doesn't, I don't know. It doesn't strike me as something that a lot of people are going to be pumped to do when you could go and play Justin Fields and, Jared Goff is an easy. I mean, Jared Goff's 5,600, and you get the Amon-Ra St. Brown stack kind of preloaded. So he's more fun to tack stuff onto. I don't know. It's just hard for me to see this being like massive chalk. Not that it'll get lost, but
it could also be a scenario in which Rodgers is the fifth highest owned or the fourth highest owned quarterback, and that's the equivalent of 8% ownership, which, like, at that point there are 8 quarterbacks between 9 and 7% ownership
Sure.
or whatever. Like it doesn't matter that he is top 5, right? It matters that Jared Goff, we flipped the cards and was 26%. So you don't care that Rodgers is the 4th most owned. He was a third or less of the ownership as that. So yeah, I think you've talked me into feeling comfortable playing this. I agree, especially especially I don't care. Like I don't think Lazard's great, but if he's going to be the number 1 receiver for this team with the 2nd highest, I believe, team total in a spot where they might pass,
and he has the highest ADOT on the team, so he can help speed the game up, even though it doesn't feel like he can because he's not very good, but he technically can.
I think I lost you there, but I can't tell if it's me or you.
It might have been me, but I was just saying I think Lazard has the highest ADOT on the team, so he can help speed the game up. Not like Watson can as much, but
And you pointed out, didn't you point out on the show that the Vikings have been playing a lot of man? And I know for a fact Lazard is actually one of the better. Okay, yeah, Lazard has been like top 10 or so receiver in like yards per out run versus man. Like he's been like a good receiver in this type of matchup. So yeah, let's do it. I do like Dalvin Cook. This obviously we haven't had like a supreme. I don't think we've had one like really good Dalvin Cook blow up because he had like multi-touchdown games that saved poor efficiency, and he's had a few 100-yard games. Like his efficiency metrics aren't the rest of his career. Like his yards after contact, I think, is like almost exactly his career average. Like missed tackles forced is slightly down, but not even the worst of his career. He's give or take the same running back. Maybe
he's way down in the NFL Next Gen stuff. He's way down. I think he's still got the breakaway. Like he can still hit long runs, but he's like essentially his like consistency and kind of his rush yards over expected, which is like I think a pretty good explosiveness metric is way down.
I'm not too sold on how important, like especially because his missed tackles forced and his yards after contact are about the same as they've always been.
I think that's the least predictive of all of it, to be honest.
Oh, really?
I think the elusiveness stuff is like it gets, especially because like we are so focused on missed tackles forced and like don't let someone even come close to tackling you in the first place. How about that? Run by everybody. That's way better. So I've done a little bit of stuff on it. I think elusiveness it's the one I put the least weight on.
It's conversation for a different day, but while we're here, yards after contact. I know a lot of people, or some people, really smart people, have pointed out that like so much of yards after, it's so difficult to tell what the yards over expected is actually measuring. Like, is it measuring something that the model doesn't understand about the offensive line? Like, just because we tag running back to line. Like the Falcons, every single Falcons running back looks incredible this year. Tyler Algier like passed Cordell Patterson to be like a top 10 running back. Strangely, Caleb Huntley's also really good too. He's
success rate.
Caleb Huntley was like top 25 or something, but he's like a practice squad player. So
and they have a great offensive line. They rank well in like pass blocking grade and stuff. So all this stuff is intertwined.
It's so hard to
tell. But I still think the fact that it's intertwined is like
it doesn't matter.
Intertwined this week too.
Yeah, it's not going to unintertwine this week. Exactly.
Yeah, it's not unintertwining this week. Yeah. So who cares? I don't need to know if Tyler Algier is responsible for his high success rate. I just need to feel confident that he will have that again. We'll talk about running backs more in a few minutes. Before we get to questions here, I want to just ask you about any other games that are jumping in. We only talked about 3 games so far. What else is looking kind of interesting for you?
Yeah, we don't have a ton of questions. If you want, we can just go full. Sorry if people are like dying to get their questions in.
Let's answer some questions in like 5 minutes and then
let's see. Yeah, I mean, I hate the Broncos with every fiber of my being, but the Chiefs have the second highest, man. Lions flipped them. Second highest implied team total. It is 45 total is not bad for this slate. It is actually third highest. Man, this slate sucks. It's the third highest, obviously just carried by the fact that it's the Chiefs playing in this game. But we also know that the Chiefs, with their pass rate over expected, even as they bludgeon their opponent, are still pretty comfortable passing. So I'm playing Patrick Mahomes again. Anytime he's like sub 6%, fire him up, bud. And at this point, I'm playing him with 2 players. I'm playing him with Travis Kelce, or I'm playing him with Juju. Don't play anyone else. Not worried about it. If one of those guys catches a one-off touchdown, I was going to predict it anyways. So,
okay. How are you handling the Eagles? Because as I wrote this game up, I was like, there's 2 ways the Eagles can do this. I don't think this is as obvious as some of the spots that I felt like very, very confident at times. And it's been some of the better calls I've made this year, frankly, has been kind of predicting when the Eagles are going to just light a team up. And, the Tennessee AJ Brown revenge game was one of these spots where it's like, it's a huge pass funnel. They're great against the run. It's AJ Brown's revenge game. They're gonna. We know how this is gonna go, and it went that way. But the Steelers was another one.
You had Bears perfectly too.
I had Bears
and Steelers, but I was thinking Bears. Like, sit back and launch mortars. Like, you are going to face no pressure.
Yep. This is one of those spots. If this was Jalen Hurts, I would be pounding the table saying the Saints have no pass rush. The Saints specifically don't get to the quarterback quickly. That is the Achilles heel of the Eagles passing attack, is that they are allowing quick pressure at a high rate. If they don't have to worry about that, they can sit back and launch bombs. The Saints aren't great against the run, but they're not like horrible to where you'd be kind of foolish not to attack them that way. Miles Sanders is coughing up fumbles. So I feel like
he's also a little banged up. I think he was on the practice report.
Okay. So it just all lines up for Jalen Hurts to have this huge game, except of course, he's probably not playing.
He got back to practice last week yesterday with a limited session. I'm playing whoever is starting, frankly.
That's kind of what I'm driving towards. Is I think I want to play whoever starts here. And to be honest, I kind of want to play Minshew. Too. Yeah. I'm more excited if it's Minshew because I think other people will be off it. I think the narrative will be they're just going to run the ball here. And I don't think so. I think they probably have enough confidence in Minshew to just like roll out the same game plan they would have with Hurts, see if it's working. It might not work, but if it does work, we make a lot of money.
Yeah. Also, I think the simple fact that that we may not know until inactives or probably a Schefter bomb over Saturday night, Sunday
morning. We'll probably
morning.
know tomorrow.
You don't think they listen as questionable? I want them to listen as questionable.
I think the Schefter's going to break it tomorrow.
I was thinking maybe he'll break it Saturday, but either way, just the overall consternation of the event. Oh wait, today's Friday. I keep thinking it's Thursday. Okay, well, if he doesn't break it till tomorrow night, though, we might be getting it.
Okay, yeah, tomorrow night, New Year's Eve. That's gonna get lost in the New Year's Eve.
Oh,
shuffle.
Baby, that's such a good outcome for us, especially because I want him to play specifically because the chalk quarterbacks of the week are like Daniel Jones looks to be maybe popular. I mean, he's cheap and his pass catchers get a bunch of PPR points. Jared Goff, obviously. Aaron Rodgers, I still think is a bit popular, but you've kind of talked me back on that.
Yeah, Joe Burrow's off the slate. Josh Allen's off the slate. Lamar's not a thing. So there's not you're not fading that many great quarterbacks. Yeah,
it's a pay down at quarterback type of week, but we could get Minshew at 6% in a matchup that his receivers are very obvious. Like Devonta Smith seems like perennially underpriced based on his super efficiency. AJ Brown is overpriced, but he's not overpriced for the games where he goes 10, 180, and 2, right? He's overpriced for his median projection. And his median projection does not matter. Like, you just want his ceiling games. So I want Minshew to play. I'm going to play him a lot if he plays. I'm even fine going Dallas Goedert. He's sort of in the same vein of overpriced, but has a really strong ceiling. He's been like arguably the most efficient tight end in the league this year. He's second in yards per out run, first in yards after
the
catch.
It's really shaky though. His expected yards per out run, which it's weighted targets per out run, but weighted.
He's nuking on screens. Like, he is getting the ball and running for miles, but like, he's pretty good. I don't know if he's.
That is what it is. It's all yak on screens, and that's not the best thing to bet on. But I don't hate it. I wish he was cheaper. But Minshew,
that's going to run cover for his. Yeah, that's going to run cover for his ownership, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, Minshew unlocks the double. You can actually go AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Minshew, right? And then it's going to be tight, but you can't really do that with Hurts. So, I don't know. This one's fun. All right, let's answer some questions, and then we'll talk some more DFS.
Wait, one more thing. What do we do with the other side? What do we do with the other side? Like, no run back because this team's trash.
Well, where's Olave priced?
I'll pull it up.
Of course, he's dealing with a hamstring, so you don't love that.
I know. And if he doesn't play, I have no clue.
Then it's Shaheed, dude. It's your boy.
It's true. And it wouldn't be a terrible weather game, right? It's a tough matchup for opposing receivers, but would be Shaheed. It's
Shaheed. I think it's definitely Shaheed. And they used him more shallowly last week, which didn't go well, but I think is a good sign in the sense of he's probably the guy. He's 4,000. I think I'll definitely play Shaheed, especially because I want to run that as a double. So I've already, I get the Minshew savings, but I still need some more savings. So $4,000 receivers seems pretty nice. He's going to be a little chalky, it looks like, with Olave out, but not to the point where I would be worried about it with the stack.
Yeah, no one's running like Minshew double plus run, like their ownership is
preloaded, baby.
Yeah, 2 people in this world are running Minshew double sheet. Just gotta make sure we don't enter the same contest.
All right, let's answer some questions. Let's get some championships here, Kyle.
Let's get some ships here. Need help pick one: Brandon Cooks versus Jacksonville, Richie James, Curtis Samuel, or Jahan Dotson. I guess it's Brandon Cooks. He hadn't been playing a good role like all year. He was basically like a 1A/1B with Nico.
Yeah, because Nico's good.
Yeah. But Nico's gone. Or at least I think he's gone. So
he's not. I don't think he's playing.
Yeah, I don't think so. So, and Cooks showed us that without Nico, he's still Brandon Cooks. Kind of tells you something about where Brandon Cooks is at his career, but conversation for another day. Gabe Davis.
I would also note that the Jacksonville defense is terrible against the pass, so it's a good spot for Texans pass catchers.
Gabe Davis, Brandon Cooks, or Zach Moss. I think still Brandon Cooks. Like, I just have so little value in the Zach. Oh wait, Oh no, Gabe Davis plays in the game of the week.
Davis, dude.
I forgot he played in the game of the week. If he plays in a more meh game, he's a dust ball. Like, he's just not that good. But like, he plays in the coolest game of the week.
He's Marcus Valdes-Scantling, slightly better. He's slightly better. He's like pre-washed Marcus Valdes-Scantling.
Yeah, it's good pre-wash because MVS he did some stuff with Rodgers. Like, they had some good moments.
Yeah, that's who he is, and he's in the game of the week. So
yeah, I forgot they were playing such a good game. It's Gabe. It's Gabe for sure. Start 2 between Kamara, Swift, and Harris. Oh man, Swift and Harris. I'm so down on Swift's role right now. But game.
Why not Kamara here? I don't get that.
He's like a committee back on the worst offense.
He's not.
He doesn't even run. He's not a committee back.
He had 20 touches last week.
He still gave up like 8 to David Johnson.
I know he did, but they literally had like a minus 31% passer. They were like the second most run heavy outing of the season behind the Malik Willis first start for the Titans. Like, yeah, he gave up a lot of touches, but they're not going to give him 30 touches.
He also he's not running like the full allotment of routes. Like,
well, that's annoying. I'm not saying it's ideal, but the Eagles stink against the. I'm going to start Kamara in DFS. There's my bring back.
That's a good point.
You're actually talking me into the stuff, not the listeners.
Yeah. You start reading the comments and they're all like at Kyle _ not DVO.
Yeah. Why is
I'm
Kamara
not starting
so
Kamara. It was like Kamara or Jermichael Hasty this week. All right, I'm a little scared. All right, Kamara, and I'll go Harris then.
I'll go Harris too.
Yeah.
He was back. His snap share was back up last week.
He ran more routes too, which shock. I mean, he's not like the best receiver, but like.
Oh, he's not. He's not the best receiver.
But that's what you drafted him for. I'm asking the coach.
He's terrible. He's terrible at everything. He literally catches the ball. It does this.
Dude, it is there. I know the one clips. There's one clip that is so specific.
It's like, why don't you move forward? What are you doing?
He's like a crab. He just skitters left and right. Need 2 of Pittman, London, Hollywood, Samuel. I'm looking at them in that order. Definitely London. I get that they're going to have a negative 450 billion pass rate over expected, but he's like a legit alpha. And Pittman?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I thought you meant Pittman when you said he's a legit alpha. So I was wondering how far you're going to take that, because London is also sort of a legit alpha. Yeah, I think I'm Pittman in London. Colt McCoy, by the way, not at practice today.
I swear to God, I can't. Please,
we have to watch Trace McSorley
I'm so
again.
Tired.
So tired. You're not covering that game. I'm covering that game. I'm gonna have to watch Trace McSorley and write up blurbs about him.
I'm gonna have to write up some blurb about why he returned to practice, but they called it limited, and now he's questionable because I work in and out. I work.
All right,
soon.
I would not make that trade. I'd rather just watch him.
Yeah, Waller versus 49ers and Njoku or Knox. What's your take?
I think I would be in Njoku.
Me too. He's running all the routes. He's got a 90% snap share in each of the past 3 weeks. Ignore the terrible quarterback play because he is.
Also, I will note that the Browns were sort of trending towards a positive pass rate over expected before last week. Now, last week we got a throw out.
Yeah, it's not a good
throw
sample.
it completely out. Yeah, we knew that going in. We were going to throw it out ahead of time. So, with that in mind, like he is still Deshaun Watson. I know he's played horribly. He's like Jacoby Brissett has been way better this season.
Way better.
But I mean, let's think logically through what that means, right? Jacoby Brissett being way better in this offense is actually a sign that the offense can support efficient quarterback play. Deshaun Watson is coming back from a 2-year absence. He's a much more talented quarterback than Jacoby Brissett. So there's an upside here for better. There's positive regression here potentially for this passing offense. To me, it would be between him or Knox. I think you could talk me into Knox if you felt really strongly. I don't think you could talk me into Darren Waller. I think Darren Waller's in a horrible spot with Jarrett Stidham at quarterback. He should not be in consideration. I think it's probably fairly close between Knox and Njoku, but I would go Njoku.
Yeah, it'd be like a decent conversation between all three if Derek Carr was playing. I still don't even know if I'd choose Waller. But Jarrett Stidham, man, this is going to be a train wreck. Komet or Andrews? Is Andrews on the main slate? Feels like he could be. I mean, this offense is just so bad.
No, I don't think he's. Isn't that the Sunday night game?
Oh, you're right. Oh, it got flexed to the Sunday night game. Incredible decision there. It's Andrews still.
Be careful.
It could be a good game. Steelers are still in the playoff hunt. 538 gives them a 3%
nice save, Kyle.
chance. I think it's still Andrews, but only because we're talking about both of these players as their team's number one receiver.
It's definitely Andrews.
But their passing game isn't going to be that much different. So just take the dude who's seeing more of the work and is infinitely more talented. Like Komet's fine, but like Andrews is so good.
Andrews is profiling like the best tight end in the league. Everything he's doing is outrageously good. It's just he's in a terrible position. You got to start.
Yeah, the offense has looked good for 4 weeks, and those 4 weeks came 13 weeks ago. So
yeah.
Or Ken Walker and Algier standard scoring. I think it might be Algier in standards, especially because I feel like he's got to have better touchdown odds.
I think I'm Algier in standard too.
Yeah, their implied team total is 2.5 points higher, I think. They're going to probably have like similar touch counts, right? Like they're both going to get the bulk of the between tackles work. Maybe Patterson pitches in for a little more, but his team's also going to run more. It evens out. But one of these teams is the home favorite, and one of these teams is the underdog. So,
and the Cardinals are not good against the run. Like the Cardinals have been a pass funnel, but that's not because they're so good against the run. It's because they're just really bad against the pass.
Yeah.
So, but
you know who doesn't care?
Don't care. They don't care. They don't care.
Would you guys go Goff or Fields? Fields. Come on, Fields. Fields me, Fieldser. Komet or Kittle? Kittle. Easy. Hollywood or Dobbs if Watson is out. I will say Dobbs if we don't get Colt McCoy, which we just.
That's where I'm at. Yeah.
Hollywood.
Colt McCoy, I would go Hollywood though.
Yep. Please help. Who should I start running back 2? Son of a Knight, AJ Dillon, Zach Moss, or Deonta Foreman. I kind of want to play Deonta Foreman, but I'm really getting into this Panthers thing. I've had a fun time with this team.
I think I'm going Deonta Foreman, man.
Let's do it.
They're just going to run the ball down the Buccaneers' throats, and guess what? It's going to work. Let's go. I'm so excited. Any concerns surrounding Eckler's role this week? I thought the more interesting thing, I mean, yes, he's dealing with what is like a knee issue or whatever. I think the more interesting thing is that he's also seen like 6 targets the past 2 weeks, has like 24 receiving yards, maybe it's 28 or whatever. And like, obviously he's an elite pass catcher, but playing the middle of the season without Mike Williams, without Keenan Allen, even without like Jalen Guyton, their 3rd or 4th receiver, like that matters. So I do think he'll see less. I think Allen especially, right? Like
Allen's the obvious one, yeah.
Just the move the chain stuff is gone. Was gone, excuse me. And then they were just checking down to Eckler a lot more. And I agree that's a problem. I am a little nervous about this knee thing. They've already clinched a playoff spot. There's no reason to force it. He's been limited in practice. I do think like if he goes, you have to play him. You have to play him. Let me just say, okay, just think about this. If you're thinking about sitting Austin Eckler in your championship game, a couple years ago, this is what 2020 in the 2021 season, Eckler had a hamstring scare right before the season, And I was in a high stakes draft, and Eckler fell to us in like the late second round. And he was going at like, he was like the 202 or something. So he goes, I think, all the way back to 212. And we're like, oh, this hamstring. Oh, God. We're probably, we don't want to get up to a slow start. We took CH. We took CH over an amazing Austin Eckler value. And it's haunted me for the rest. It'll haunt me for the rest of my life. Don't sit Austin Eckler and have him be fully healthy. You will never get over it.
Oh my, that's brutal. I mean, I was not high stakes, but I was all over CH over Jonathan Taylor because one of them plays for a terrible team, and one of them is a terrible player.
For that. Sean Siegel stayed strong. Sean's the.
It was so right. Jonathan Taylor was like an all-time prospect, and CH was like the most jag guy ever. And
he's not good. He's not.
I was hoodwinked. Aaron Jones or AJ Dillon, my other running backs are playing. You got a squad there on the other two guys. I'm still going Aaron Jones. I'm going Aaron Jones. AJ Dillon out carried and out targeted him last week, which is like an obvious concern, but like that's almost never been the case in the past 10 weeks, right? If we get a further update from like LaFleur that says like, yeah, we can't play Aaron Jones much this week, sure, maybe we can project it to return to where it was last week. But unless that happens, like you have to take the last 10 weeks in totality and say it's Aaron Jones.
Yeah, I think unless there's like some bearish stuff on the knee, and this is a spot where you would expect the Packers to pass more than usual. Like the game script and the game flow really sets up for Aaron Jones, some of the quick hitting stuff to Aaron Jones. I don't think this is like a power football game for the Packers.
Yeah. Let's see who we got here. This is something about CMC. You play CMC. Like literally one half of CMC is worth as much as all but like 6 other running backs. And they're still playing for a first round bye. The Eagles have not clinched. And if the Eagles fall 0-2 these final 2 games, 49ers enter the conversation. So they're not.
CMC's the best running back play of the entire week, right? I mean, you can't, don't overthink it.
For sure. Who should I play as my wide receiver 3? Pittman. Is that Pittman? Or is there another Pittman I'm thinking of? Kirk or Hodgins? I assume that's. Am I missing a Pitt?
It's got to be Pittman.
Then it's the end. My answer is Pittman. Let's assume that's the case.
Let's hope it was.
Hey, look, not on me. All right. Jarrett McKinnon, Pacheco. Yeah,
this is McKinnon.
Yep. My wide receiver 1. You better have good running backs. Is back. Someone else asked about Tyler Lockett, so I'll find it when we get there.
I'd be willing to play Tyler Lockett.
It feels like, as a non-doctor, as someone who rarely goes outside, a finger injury can't be.
He's catching the ball well. That's what the reports. If you're catching
Pete Carroll
ball,
said that. Pete Carroll told that to reporters. He said he had no problems catching. Like didn't feel pain.
I think there was also some on Wednesday. People were like, he looked great catching the ball. Like there's no issues. So I think he got back to limited yesterday. So I think he's playing.
He's got to be like, I would imagine he'd be pretty low owned.
Now he is on my Best Ball Mania 3 final team. So
maybe this is
I'm incredibly biased towards wanting him to play. So yeah.
McKinnon, Dillon, Algier. It's Algier. I wonder if, I guess these are all questions because I wrote up Algier as like a possible pivot off of some of the other mid-price, like ETN essentially. He's going to be priced, I think, the same or close enough to ETN. We're getting a lot of questions about him.
Let me ask you a start say question. I have this. So we have Algier, McKinnon, and Brandon Ayuk that we need to start 2 of.
I'd go with both of the running backs.
That's what we have right now.
I'm not an Ayuk guy. He's like good. I think I always compare
this week.
I always compare him to Deebo Samuel, especially like I think it was the first half of last year where Deebo had like a 30% air yard share and target share. And I always I pine for those days, even though Ayuk's a good player.
He's good, man.
Yeah, he's good. I know. Let's see. Let's see. Here, this is an interesting one. Mike Evans or Richie James. I still think I'm going with Evans, but like, whoa, this team sucks, man. Don't let them make the playoffs. Get the People's Panthers in the playoffs.
Mike Evans, dude. It's Mike Evans.
I get the question though, man. Evans hasn't had a 100-yard game in like, I think it's 8 weeks now, and he hasn't scored since like week 4.
Yeah, but he draws pass interference and he drops long balls. So, that can go the other way pretty quickly.
Let's see. Fournette or Chuba Hubbard? I'd go with Fournette here. I still am.
I'd go Fournette too.
Pretty obviously of the opinion that Hubbard, he's always going to
I'm as biased against Fournette as any player in the league, and I would go Fournette.
Yeah, that's all we need. All right, here we go. Cam Akers or Ken Walker? Give me Ken Walker. I think the answer is Ken Walker.
I'm going Ken Walker. Bet on talent.
That's kind of where I'm at too. I don't know why. Just Ken Walker's better. Don't make me think too hard. Zay Jones, Tyler Lockett, or AJ Dillon. I think we're firing up the Lockett machine this week.
Just real quick on the Akers stuff. I do think there's obviously a chance Akers gets 2 touchdowns and you feel horrible. And Ken Walker's got a low floor, so they could go against you pretty bad. But there's also scenarios where the Chargers just beat up on the Rams and they play a lot of Kyron Williams. And now you've got this horrible efficient. I mean, Akers' efficiency has been about as bad as any running back in the league. I mean, I think Najee Harris is running better. So
I will say Akers has been a totally middle of the road guy ever since he came back from the trade request. It's obviously
you're right. He's been better since then.
He's not well, I guess once you add last week's data, and he might actually be kind of good. Before last week,
bad.
Is he still? Well, I'm talking about in the past 8 weeks. He was out of 42 running backs, he was 24 or whatever. A totally just a guy kind of guy. Last week, probably boosts his stuff, but also that's a sample of 6 games. So what is it?
He's coming off an Achilles tear, so maybe he's getting healthier.
Yeah, and he did take 3 or 4 weeks off after looking like trash for the first 6 whatever it was weeks. So I don't know. Maybe he's good. Maybe not.
Wait, we didn't answer that one.
Oh, who cares? No, Tyler Lockett. I said Tyler Lockett. It's Lockett.
I agree. It's Tyler Lockett.
And maybe there's
I would go Zay Jones over Dillon if he's.
Yeah, me too. And maybe there's some juice for we didn't talk about it, but I do kind of like the Mike White led offense. I just want to find I like the idea of finding 5-point-something K quarterbacks who aren't Jared Goff, because if any one of them outproduces Jared Goff, it's a big win, especially if it's by a lot. So, and Garrett Wilson, I want to play Garrett Wilson, but it is hard to just run solo Garrett Wilson as chalk. I never just love running one-off receiver in line with the field. But if all of Garrett Wilson's points equal some more Mike White for me, I've seen worse things to do. Non-PPR tight end, Komet or Knox for flex. Well, if it's non-PPR, then you just go Knox for the tutters. Brian Robinson, Olave, or go Metcalf.
Oh, Metcalf for sure.
Yeah. Olave with 1.5 hamstrings. Yeah, he sees all the work, and he'll see 75% of the work if he has 1.5 of 2 hamstrings.
Yeah, talk about bet on talent play. Olave's had an incredible rookie season.
I know. Rotopat's always disappointing with Olave, and I just don't get it.
He's held back by the offense in a big way.
He is.
He's like Drake London, but on the Saints.
Yeah, which is kind of like being Drake London on the Falcons.
He's also been much better than Drake London, I think.
Yeah, Drake London was really not earning targets to start the year. It was the first week, I think he had a good game in terms of targets, and after that, he was phased out of the offense. So it's been much more touch.
Drake London's a Michael Pittman type, I think. I think he'll be fine, but I don't know. I'm not as excited. I think Olave has a chance to be a special downfield threat.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Pick 4. Is this a start your lineup question?
Pick 4. All right, let's go. London, Singletary, Gabe Davis. Championship week. We'll set your whole lineup.
I'm seeing London.
How many names?
All right.
So let's put in London.
Let's put in London. Let's put in Gabe. I kind of want to put in Lazard, and I hate again. You don't I also don't really care for Fournette.
I'll put in Lazard if Christian Watson's not going.
That's the contingency, and I cannot stand
Amari.
Lazard. But
let's put in Amari, dude.
Yeah, let's do it. Those are your 4.
Who's the next one? If Watson goes,
Zay Jones. Zay Jones.
Yeah, I agree.
Crazy. I want to start Brandon Cooks over DK. Yeah, the thing is, DK is really good at football, and Brandon Cooks is only coasting off the fact that Chris Moore is
people are so obsessed. Last week, I wrote up AJ Brown and was like, the guy's getting open at will. Do not worry about it doesn't matter really that Gardner Minshew's in there. It's still going to be a great week for the Eagles passing game. AJ Brown gets open, and all these people were like, "Guess you never heard of Trayvon Diggs, dude." And like, guess what? I didn't matter if I'd never heard of Trayvon Diggs because he got like burned on the first play of the game. Like, I mean, I know Sauce Gardner's a very good corner,
He is,
but like he's better than Diggs, and Diggs gives up big plays. But I just think like it's DK Metcalf. We're betting on DK Metcalf first, and everything about the matchup's kind of already baked in. Like the reason you'd ever even be considering this is because the Jets are good against the pass. It's not going to be constant. Like they're going to figure out ways to get DK Metcalf the ball. I don't even know. Is Sauce Gardner shadowing? Is he going to be on Metcalf?
He doesn't shadow. He stays on.
So he doesn't even shadow.
Yeah. And also, like teams play like half of like the most teams play of man is like 50%, right? So doesn't shadow. Doesn't obviously like he doesn't play every single matchup. Like every single play matched up man-to-man coverage.
It's already baked into the Jets are good against the pass. That's like it's already fully baked in.
I've got an update that is the most vile update you could possibly imagine. If you got like you had a water cup earlier, hold it over your mouth. So Colt McCoy had more concussion symptoms come up Friday, so he will not play. David Blau will start for the Cardinals.
No. Oh no. I'm covering this game. God damn it,
Have fun. Oh man.
Oh, David Blau.
Hey, the thing is, I'm not sure he could be worse than Trace McSorley. I mean, we are going to find out. But
oh,
so
God.
like definitely
right, Tyler Algier for all the money. They're just running. They're running it
yeah.
a million, 40 times, 40 carries for the Atlanta backfield.
Non-PPR, Taysom Hill or Tyler Higbee. Because it's non-PPR, I actually will say Taysom Hill. I know Tyler Higbee scored a bunch of touchdowns last week or 2 weeks ago or whatever. I really do think like this Baker Mayfield Ponzi scheme has to come apart. I think it's Taysom too,
non-PPR.
Yeah.
Higbee's just a PPR scam.
Yeah, he scored touchdowns last week, but the only thing he's done other than that is
the only time all year.
I know, right? Like, actually, I think 2 weeks ago was like his first touchdown of the season.
No, that's right. I think he literally had his like second and third touchdowns or whatever.
Exactly. Well, you're correct. Let's see. Oh, this is a fun one. Garrett Wilson or Keenan Allen? I think I'm going Garrett. Dude, Garrett is so good.
I'm going Keenan.
Okay, fair. Just got a little more Mountain Dew in my veins. That's fine.
Yeah, I guess you do. That's a real Mountain Dew move.
Keenan's really good too, though. So
Keenan's been extremely efficient. They'll attack through the air, I think so.
So this is an interesting one. We can just toss DeAndre Hopkins right on out of here. It's AJ Brown, obviously.
Give me that ceiling, baby.
All right. We'll rapid fire, like, I don't know, 10 more questions. No analysis. You just get the picks. Zay Jones, EJ Hart, Gabe Davis. Sit one.
Sit one.
Sit one. Zay. Do I sit Devontae Adams for Akers, Ken Walker, or Brian Robinson? I don't think so, but like,
no.
I understand the question. Algier, all the money, Algier. Ayuk, Judy, or Dylan. You got this one. Is it a Judy? Might be Ayuk.
I think I'm Ayuk.
All right, Ayuk. I have no problem with that. Darius Slayton, Bam Knight, Zach Moss, Aaron Jones, Debo Samuel. I don't think Debo's not playing this week. John, I don't think so, at least. John Dotson. Aaron Jones. Oh, yeah. And I have to pick another one. Zach Moss, I guess.
Dotson, maybe?
Oh, yeah, do Dotson. Have a little Mountain Dew.
Yeah. I'll look at that. You were about to be the non-Mountain Dew guy.
I know. Foreman, I think I answered a similar question. Fields or Goff? We already got this one. Come on, play Fields. Come on, Fields. What else we got here? Don't do this. Whatever this is, don't do it. I don't like this. You shouldn't be doing it.
No, don't do that.
Gino, Mike White, or Brady. It's not Brady for me. I'm gonna go Mike White. They have a higher implied team total. They play fun offense with Mike White.
Let's go Mike White.
Gross. Yeah, someone.
What a world.
So gross. Lockett. Let's see what we got. Brian Robinson, Algier, dude. All the Algier. People are even like Algier could end up being like a player where we look back and we're like, he should have been 35% owned.
I'm gonna play a lot of Algier this week.
Yeah, like it looks like people are thinking about him, but hesitantly. I'm not going to hesitate with this. You're loading up. Ben Robinson, Cam Akers, Demont Nation, or
Demont. Oh, and Walker. We talked about the bet on
Ken,
talent.
yeah. All right. Last question. Sorry if I missed some. I'm sure I did. Pick 2, PPR, Swift, McKinnon, Dillon, Dobbins, Moss, or Josh Kelly. Let's see. McKinnon, Swift? I don't want to play Swift, but all of these dudes are committee backs, except maybe Zach Moss, I guess.
What about Dobbins? I think I'm going Swift.
I'll take Swift.
Yeah, I'm going Swift too.
All right, cool. Let's rip a little bit. We got 10 minutes or so to vamp some DFS to close out. What do you want to talk about?
Let's talk running back, man. We talked about our excitement for Tyler Algier, but let's zoom out a little bit and talk about this running back slate. It looks like Ramondre Stevenson is going to be very, very chalky. He is 6,800 on DraftKings. They are playing the Dolphins, though, who are good against the run. And so I love Ramondre. I don't think this is crazy chalk to fade, though. He's also not like insanely cheap. And then Algier is going to be chalky, but maybe not like crazy chalky. He's only 5,300. So he jumps out to me as like an awesome play. Definitely chalk I'm happy to eat. McCaffrey will be fairly chalky. Saquon Barkley. We talked about ETN already. James Connors dealt with an illness this week, but he returned to practice today.
You can X that dude out. I'm not playing David.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, David Blau. Yeah, X him out. So there's not that many because I don't want to play Miles Sanders, 5,900. I guess you could, but dude, Kenneth Gainwell from like the 19 got a carry, 4 straight carries all the way down to the 1. Gardner Minshew punches in a QB sneak. That just shouldn't happen when Miles Sanders is like a pure 2-down back. Like you can't afford to lose.
That's
that
the only part of his game we care about from a fantasy perspective, and he's still giving it up.
Yeah, so that's real rough. I think Dalvin Cook jumps out to me as potentially like an incredible play if he's not going to be chalky.
He was my second leverage play at running back.
And then Alvin Kamara, based on your queasiness, he's only 6,900. The Eagles are not good against the run. With Minshew, you could pretty easily see Minshew regressing, and this being like a game that the Saints are happy to continue running the ball. And guess what? If they're not, maybe that's good. Alvin Kamara getting some more dump offs. And if Olave's out, or if Olave is like somewhat limited and is more of a decoy, you have, I think, Rashid Shaheed. He's a burner. He's not going to draw a ton of targets, but like the defense can be doing this a lot. They're going back, right? There's going to be plenty of little dump off opportunities to Kamara. I do think that Kamara could rack up some catches this week. So I don't know. I'm kind of into Kamara. Kamara, Cook, Algier. Those are the guys that jump out to me as pretty strong plays based on price and ownership. Where are you at?
I think this is a good risk to take based on ownership I'm looking at, and then chat affirming that, which is Austin Eckler. I think it is a very risky play, and I think it'll be like 3% owned. And if you can get Austin Eckler 3% owned,
and he's in the late window, right?
Yeah.
So we're not going to know.
And that's also one that if you have a second roster spot and you've got the nuts through the 1 p.m. games, you can just swap off of him.
Go to ETN.
If you don't need that risk, right? Is
he late or not? He's not.
Oh, I don't know. That'd be a perfect swap though. Like if you can pull a 2v2 of like pay up more at receiver and go down to ETN. Let's see. What are the no, I think ETN's the early.
Is he early?
ETN's the early.
For some reason
window.
I thought he was late. I don't know why.
Oh, well, if you can find another 500 in cap, you would go to Christian McCaffrey. And ironically, if you have McCaffrey, or you go down to Dalvin Cook, but there are like 3. You can play Cam Akers. There are a lot of good swap options. So
Dalvin Cook is the swap, I think.
Yeah, you could leave but I like Eckler especially because at this point there are prices or dudes at all prices to where if you need a lot of risk in your lineup, Eckler's your guy. If you need no risk, McCaffrey. If you need some, but a better play, probably Dalvin Cook. So Jamal Williams,
Walker.
Yeah, Ken Walker, or even Son of a Knight, I guess, whatever. Depends on what you're looking for. Jamal Williams, I totally agree that like there are a ton of scenarios in which this game, the Lions Bears game, does even feature a lot of points, and they just come from the running backs because both these teams want to run the football, and we know exactly how Jamal Williams gets his points. He's the guy who scores the touchdown, so he's 5K. I guess the only concern is that like, what are his odds of getting a 100-yard bonus? I don't think he's gotten it once this year. I think he's gotten it once this year. But if they run the ball a ton, like he could be, Deonta Foreman with more touchdowns, right? So I don't hate him. He's only 5K. And he's like, obviously, he's supreme leverage. If he scores 3 touchdowns, everyone else on this team has probably lost. Goff has lost. St. Brown's probably lost. Maybe DeAndre Swift has.
Especially because like St. Brown seems to have the signature move of going down at the 1.
I know.
So I'm kind of into that. It's like it's pretty low floor play.
Yes,
but we're playing for ceiling here. So all right, I'm kind of into that one.
Yeah, I think it's all I got. I think you named some of the other. I think Dalvin Cook is such a good leverage play.
I don't see why he's leveraged. Like he should just be chalk.
I know
the Packers aren't good against the run, and he's in a high scoring game. Like to me, that's one where I'm like, is this going to hold? Is he really going to be a pivot? Why is he a pivot?
I mean, well, it's because Ramondre Stevenson at 6.8, what is that, 200 more, will be a far better play, assuming Harris doesn't play. McCaffrey, if you pay 2,000 more, is the best play of the slate.
Is he a far better play? I mean, I would say he's a better play, but I guess
Stevenson's
they're home and favored.
Yeah, and Stevenson's roll through the air has been like hyper elite at points this year. Dalvin Cook has really not been doing much.
You say that, but all he does is catch and fall down, Kyle.
The thing about DraftKings scoring...
Just channeling Denny Carter.
You have to understand, the thing about DraftKings scoring is it hardly even matters what you do.
It doesn't.
After you've secured that one. So I do think it's possible, though, that he comes in, like, ownership projects him at, like, 9 to 12%, and he comes in, like, 19 or whatever. I think it's possible, but, like, that has to come from somewhere. It has to come from somewhere, and it would probably be Stevenson or maybe Barkley or ETN. So I guess if you're going up on those guys, maybe like this keeps ETN from jumping. Like ETN looks like he could be like a 25% guy, but maybe the Dalvin Cook goes up, the ETN stays at 15 or whatever.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know who's coming from. Ramondre, I think maybe a little bit comes from Ramondre.
Possible. Yeah, that's all I got. I think you named some pretty good ones. We're playing a lot of Algier. Kamara's a good run back. You're right. Kamara's a good run back.
Kamara. I mean, the guy's won fantasy championships before, Let's
wasn't it in the championship round? He had was it like 5 touchdowns?
Yeah, he won Herzog all the money.
Brian Robinson plays the worst rushing defense in the league, and I don't know if Antonio Gibson's going to play. He DNP'd to start the week. I don't know if he DNP'd yesterday. I know he's like basically just Cam Akers East Coast, but like you give Cam Akers 30 carries against the Browns defense, he probably gets something.
Yeah, I kind of like that one too. And that one feels a little higher floor. I think Jonathan Williams will mix in. Like I would be surprised. I would be actually very surprised if Brian Robinson had like a 70% snap share, but I think he'll be at like 60% or 65% even.
And he's just coming off the field for passing downs, which the dude you think Ramondre Stevenson falls down. You see Brian Robinson play.
No, Ramondre Stevenson actually is a 3-down back. Brian Robinson is very much not. It's a bit with Stevenson because he can break off long runs. He just doesn't do it when he catches the ball for some reason. All right. I think that'll do it on running. Any wide receivers or tight ends that we should cover, kind of more one-off plays, mini correlations, that type of stuff.
Next, we talked about most of them in the stacks. Do you have an opinion? We didn't talk about it much because it's very obvious. Patrick Mahomes, there are 2 viable stack options. I'm not playing anyone else. Jerry Jeudy 6,400, and at that point, like you're paying a lot for a dude who plays for just the stone cold worst offense in the NFL, but he's pretty good. He's really good. So, is that too much to pay for him? Like he's good.
I don't know. So Greg Dulcich is out, right? Or looking like he's gonna be out.
He DNP'd to start the week. He left last week with a hamstring issue. Probably out.
So,
do you have any Albert O teams still lurking? Because
no, I don't have a ton of Albert O teams to begin with. I was anti Albert O. I called him. I said you pronounce his name Albert O. Blake Jarwin. That joke aged pretty well. Would I start Jerry Jeudy? I mean, Sutton's 5,100. Why wouldn't you just play Sutton?
Judy's better? Question mark.
We've done this all year. We've literally been like, we can't draft Jerry Jeudy. You got to draft Cortland Sutton in the 3rd round, and then we were like, Jerry Jeudy, has he ever been good? He's never done anything in his life. And then he had like 2 good games, and we're like, oh, Judy's way better than Sutton. If you play Sutton, you're a moron. They're both fine. They're both fine NFL professional receivers. I don't know. I think I'd go Sutton if I'm getting.
It's the price is why. I totally agree. Sutton ran most of the routes last week. It was like 80% or something, I think. He's close enough.
The first 3 targets have been with Sutton. They're about even now, but like they're not. He's not lost in the shot. He hasn't been demoted. He's been demoted in the eyes of fantasy managers. He's not been demoted in the eyes of the Broncos' remaining staff. I assume maybe the guys left over now that Hackett's gone just can't stand it. But I'm willing to bet that they have fond feelings for Cortland Sutton.
I'll throw out one last receiver because I talked a little bit about wanting to play Mike White. Obviously, like Garrett Wilson is him. You're stacking him, but you could probably double based on how this team plays. Just the style they play is perfect. Can I play Elijah Moore? He's like 3,500. Can I play Elijah Moore? He's so cheap.
Maybe. Let me see the routes.
I was going to ask if you knew off the top of your head because I know Corey Davis.
I don't, but I have it right here. So Corey Davis ran around on 100% of dropbacks. Elijah Moore was at 88%.
Oh, there we go. Sounds like
I think you could do it. That's enough. That's enough routes. I think you could do it. I don't love it. I want to go single with Garrett, but
man. So actually, Corey Davis is also 3,700. Doubles are so easy.
I would rather play Davis. I think Davis is
deal. He's 200 more.
Yeah.
Also, like he's probably better. Elijah Moore's like targets per route run. I think his yards per route run are also like dreadful. This is a perfectly.
Yeah, let me pull up the season long numbers.
Yeah, Corey Davis is a perfectly middling second/third option. Like they played Denzel Mims over Elijah Moore. That should tell you. I know he's going to play this week, but
yeah, it hasn't been a good year for him. Obviously. Yeah, Elijah Moore has 0.96 yards per route run. Corey Davis 1.47. Davis that's supported by his target volume. I would play Davis. I think everything basically points Davis's way. Yep. Davis also he's seen 5.6% of his targets over the middle of the field, deep middle of the field, which is the best on the team. That's a pretty good rate, which just tells you like that's like a small tiebreaker boost, but it's the type of thing like he's gonna have the chance to catch those balls, not getting the Amari Cooper sideline, get your 2 feet in and probably drop it. Those targets are just so much worse. So I don't know. I think Davis mildly interesting as a punt.
When I saw Elijah Moore at 35, I was like, oh well, Corey Davis is probably like 43 or whatever, and that's difference matters. But he's 37, so yeah, for sure. We can talk tight ends. Tight end sucks. I'm mostly stacking my tight ends. Tyler Conklin is running around on like 70% every week. Plays like 75% of the snaps. He's super cheap. That's why I care. It's the same reason I asked you about Corey freaking Davis. So, I can't believe. So, do you think there's any chance we get more routes from Noah Fant? Because even though Will Dissly got hurt last week, they just used Colby, I think Parkinson.
I wouldn't count on it.
He has to be better, and they just don't care. Juwan Johnson,
it's probably like a blocking thing, right? I mean, Noah Fant he's a big wide receiver, and that it's like one of the worst teams in the league that he could have gotten traded to. Where they're like, they want an actual blocker.
Yeah. Speaking of big wide receivers, Juwan Johnson, another guy who he doesn't get the full allotment of snaps unless that changed last week, and the full allotment of routes, but he's like so efficient, and this could be a game where they're forced to pass.
I don't mind it. He had 67% route rate last week, which is not great. It's kind of we've dealt with that with like David Njoku at times, but he's moved up since. But just to give you a kind of reference point, I think I would rather go Shaheed and I'd rather go Kamara. So he'd be and I'm probably not going like just one-off Johnson.
Yeah. I was only thinking of him because we're playing that game. So any other tight end takes, anything interesting from the walkthrough you found, and we can head out.
Jelani Woods, if Granson's out, 2,800. Thoughts on him?
He's a guy.
He sure is. He does exist. Cade Otton.
Who's running
a lot of routes last week? Yeah,
that's what I was gonna ask. Yeah. No thanks. Try again.
Hang on. Let me see if I can convince you a little bit more. Because I was kind of shocked at how many routes he ran with Cameron Bray active.
That's why, yeah. Go ahead.
83% route participation. Now, did he catch 2 balls for 12 yards? He sure did. But 7 targets. Okay. 5 first read targets. I think I've talked myself out of it, actually.
Great work, everyone.
Yeah. Tyler Higbee, PPR scam. You into that?
I assume it doesn't look like it'll be that popular. Sure. Do it if you really must.
Oh, man. It is pretty weak. Evan Ingram chalk. You just fading that?
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't play on my life, Evan Ingram. Whatever.
I was kind of like uninterested in your Conklin call before, but the more I look at tight end, I kind of think it might be the key to the slate.
He's like the cheapest of the viable options too. He's like, it'd be Jelani Woods is like one of the other. He's literally the only other viable guy below 3K. After that, like the next option is like Shane Zylstra because he got a bunch of touchdowns last week, but he didn't actually run that many routes. So, yep, there it is. That's play Tyler Conklin, play Mike White. Looks like Tyler Lockett people are afraid of, so maybe that's a good run back. Even DK Metcalf. We got one question that was very disrespectful of DK Metcalf. So there's your stack.
Should we run double bringbacks on Geno doubles?
Garrett
Wilson and Tyler Conklin, or are we running Mike White with?
I'll Mike White double, but I think you can double bring back too because they just run so many plays and complete so many passes. So there you go.
All right.
There you go, everyone. Hope you had a great season. Not sure we'll be back next week. Maybe we'll do something else. Who knows? But probably not the DFS show. So follow us on Twitter. Check out the walkthrough, which dropped early this morning. Check out my DFS building blocks article, which came out for the show. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in all season. We really appreciate it.